What is going on, guys? Politics Gaming here, and today we are returning to episode 9 of the United States of America. In the previous episode, we had a lot of efforts to expand our energy grid, and we are also investing into further space exploration. I am asking you one more time before we actually get to that point, but basically, my plan is to build a moon base or a Mars base even in the future. Possibly a moon base by 2025, and then a Mars base possibly by 2040. But in any case, what do you think the names of that should be? Should it be a Jefferson program, as someone actually put in the last video? But anyway, let's go ahead and get right back into this episode. Furthermore, we're going to look into getting our fossil electricity production down. Again, down is the way we want it to go. So I'm actually going to try to dismantle 2,000 of these fossil energy plants. That is 400 terawatts that we have to make up for. Now, how am I going to make up for that? It's going to be through nuclear electricity. I'm going to expand extremely far into the 3rd generation nuclear power plant. These things are just an absolute energy cow for you to milk. So I always absolutely love investing into nuclear energy. Nuclear energy is actually my biggest supports for energy. If I think that we are going to fight climate change, I do believe that we need to invest immensely into nuclear and thorium reactors. Thorium is actually something related to a lot of the nuclear elements that we actually use for real nuclear power plants. However, thorium is actually the least invested in nuclear source. I do believe there's a couple other countries that actually do utilize thorium, but the United States does not. The United States has been lacking in nuclear energy policy for many decades. They have not upgraded their nuclear reactors ever since the 70s and 80s, whenever they were actually built. So nuclear energy, honestly, in my opinion, is the safest and the most secure form of energy that we can ever invest in, and I believe that nuclear energy will be essential in fighting climate change in the near future. So let's go ahead and build one more nuclear power plant. All of these are going to get done in about 4 months. I'm going to go ahead and build this north of Plano. Now, the Dallas-Fort Worth metropolitan area actually has their own nuclear power plant to go off of. And then let's actually come over here, and offshore wind. Offshore wind is extremely lucrative. Offshore wind is another one that I actually really love to invest in. Makes 3 terawatts per facility, but I mean that builds up whenever you build dozens and dozens of these plants. Some of them in this game, my thing is actually nuclear, 3rd generation nuclear, onshore, offshore, and solar. Geothermal could actually be really good if you actually did it. It's just that it's extremely expensive. I mean, look, to get 100 of these things, we need $11 billion and $55 billion to pay off that interest. So it's actually it's extremely expensive, but I mean, if you can actually afford it, it's extremely lucrative to actually have. So let's go ahead and come over here. Let's go to our work area. Let's look at our unemployment rates. Kind of been going up and down, and then it's kind of like stabilized around 4%. So then let's go over to minimum wage. Let's go ahead and increase minimum wage to $14.53. I don't know the percentage actually that actually puts it at, but that is something.
Our infiltrated scientific agents informed me that they could be—
Nope, I'm not going to do that. What I am going to do is actually I'm going to provide a little more funding to that emergency in Washington State. We got, let's see what I can actually do. Coming over to education, let's go ahead and see what we can do with education. We've got backup classes. Let's go ahead and put a little more money into that. School equipment and material renewal and maintenance. Let's go ahead and invest in that as well. And then education policy on gender equality, give that a little more, and a teaching of local languages. Then let's go ahead and end that. That puts our deficit at 1.01%. Then let's go over to universities. Let's go ahead and get about 20 of these built across the area. And then a secondary, we're going to go ahead and build a couple hundred of those. Going to have a large investment into education right now. Then let's get about 1,000 primary education centers going. And then higher education, let's go ahead and get about 200 of those going. Very, very large investment into education facilities. And then let's go ahead and shoot for about 1 million teachers. Then let's go to medical training. It's going to be a near $20 billion. Let's go ahead and also give them more pay. Yeah, let's go ahead and just give it a flat $20 billion stimulus to the education sector. That put it up by about 0.1%. And then to pay for all of this, let's go ahead and pass an income tax law. And I believe we're not going to make them pay for more of it, but let's go ahead and make our companies pay a little. That basically kind of matches it out. We lose a couple $100 million on that, maybe about $1 billion on, yeah, just seems like just over $1 billion and a quarter. So let's go ahead and pass that, see if that passes. Yes, passes the democratically controlled House, but then also slightly, just over slightly passes the Senate. And that basically kind of equals it out. We have a little bit more debt that we still are incurring from all of those expenses, but I do believe that we are going to be able to. I do believe we are actually going to be able to deal with it. Let's go over to housing. Let's go ahead and rehabilitate about 200,000 houses. That puts it down to 1.09 million houses that have to be rehabilitated. Let's go to industry. Let's go to aluminum. Let's see what's going on here. And let's go ahead and give it $500 million in funding and then exonerate the sector as well. And then that needs bauxite, water supply networks, and electricity. So now, good thing is that I actually know exactly where to buy it from. We're going to go ahead and buy that from Brazil. Let's go to bauxite. We literally have no production of it, and it's sectors like these that basically actually have an issue to basically, it's not actually a bug, but it's just that you do not, if you don't have that certain resource, you're not able to produce it within your own borders. So then that's whenever you have to buy off of certain countries. And then I usually, whenever I have my bauxite urge, I need to import that from Brazil. Because I do believe actually, oh, whoops, oh crap, we screwed up. Basically, in the last episode, I actually, oh my god, we just perfected a medication against diabetes. We're the first ones that made this discovery. Let's go ahead and patent it. Let's go ahead and help everyone else out in the world. Artificial skin and muscles. And let's go ahead and refuse that for now. Terrible volcanic eruption in Washington State. According to my information, flows of magma have appeared on the surface and descended down the sides. The neighboring dwellings have been affected, but a major catastrophe is to be feared. And worse, too, is that we haven't proceeded to evacuate the population. At the moment, it is impossible for us to tell to approach the affected areas since the eruptive phases are extending further. So we have a major volcanic eruption happening just south of Seattle. Mount St. Helens is erupting again. Nearly, I believe this is 40 years since the previous eruption that killed just over 100 people. We are looking at another major eruption in Washington State. Let's go ahead and see what's going on here. Again, another purchase agreement. We have this one. This is the original. Let's go ahead and reduce that to about 40 million. 39 million. Let's try to see if we can get that just under 40 million. Look at that, we're negotiating trade contracts while a major catastrophe is happening just south of Seattle. Let's go ahead and congratulations for women's rights, apparently. I'm good. Interlocutor has accepted, so we finally have a good trade contract connecting us between Brazil and the United States. Transportation-wise, let's go ahead and come over here. Let's go to construction. Then we're going to go ahead and invest in an intense traffic airport. 5,000 employees are going to build the building. 6,000, 6 months is actually how long it's going to take us for that. Let's go over, let's see who needs this. Utah, possibly even Montana. Let's actually go ahead and build that in Helena. Helena International Airport is going to connect the world finally. Major work begins. Alright, and which will benefit fully from this infrastructure. Transportation of goods will significantly improve the situation and help us streamline business. And then even if it makes the governor happy, the location of the establishment is not a great choice, as this region was already sufficiently equipped for its needs. But I think those cons outweigh the pros, or the pros outweigh the cons, actually. And we are finally getting some good business going to the state of Montana. Let's go back over to transportation and let's go toward a high-speed railway. And so I have actually a transportation plan. This is how I'm going to go ahead and do it. So basically, regional areas are going to be connected by high-speed rail, but then longer areas, such as a Dallas to Chicago line, are going to be connected via Hyperloop. And my plan is actually to create a good network of Hyperloops that connect Seattle to Los Angeles, and then Los Angeles to Dallas, and then Dallas to Chicago, and then Chicago all the way to the Boss Wash area. Boss Wash is basically Washington, Philadelphia, New York, and all the way up to Boston, Massachusetts. And that's actually a really awesome plan that I am looking forward to creating as I actually continue to develop the United States infrastructure. And as you know, we have never had a chance to actually invest in our infrastructure. I think that in real life, actually, the President of the United States is actually doing something like that. So we're going to go ahead and get a San Antonio to Austin line going. We're going to go ahead and get that done. It's like a pretty big waste of money. Let's go ahead and invest for 4 months, $2.2 billion to $10 billion over the next 5 years. Then let's go ahead and get an Austin to Arlington. Can we do Arlington, or should we do Fort Worth, or right up to Dallas? Let's go ahead and get a Dallas line going. Austin to Dallas. Dallas is going to be an extremely important transportation center, which would basically invest heavily. There would be so much investment for that city that it would expand with no end, honestly. That'd actually be a really good idea for the city of Dallas. Dallas could actually be a transportation hub for the entirety of the state of Texas. Let's go ahead and come over here. Let's get that done in about 5 months. Let's do 10 billion and 47 billion. I need to stop spending so much money, but it's so lucrative. Let's go ahead and get that up to 80,000. And then, looks like Congress is against that. It's unfortunate. Lots of protests in response to that. Lots of protests. Oh, these are the sects. Just go away. Oh my god, they're all over the place. Hang on, there's riots in Washington, Boston, Los Angeles, Baltimore, Buffalo. All of those cities are up in flames. Let's benefit from this new infrastructure. Excellent choices. Let's go ahead and send the military in to deal with all of these riots. This is completely. Alright, and we are finally over that situation. Look at us with 100% approval after all of that. Alright, let's go ahead and come back. Let's go to main highways. Let's see what kind of highways we can actually get going in the country. See what cities need to be connected all the way And that's one of the disadvantages of actually like playing as these developed countries. We actually don't get to see develop them as much as we usually want to. It's more of just like, I mean, it's good that these areas are connected. It's just like sometimes it kind of like takes away from it, but I mean it doesn't bother me most of the time. Let's get that done in 10 months. $42 billion between Reno and Las Vegas. That's good choices and promote their expansion. That's really, really good. Wow, we are really overspending right now. 2.87% to our budget deficit. Let's go ahead, and it's possibly actually our growth rate possibly. Yep, it actually flattened out around 5%, and it's actually dipping down a little bit. Let's go ahead, and GDP as world share is going up. Now it's going down. We're obviously losing our position against the Chinese. $9.12 billion cash surplus. We actually paid that to that. 4.97% at GDP at $21.5 trillion. Good growth for the year of 2019. We are now entering the year of 2020. Hopefully we actually make it through this year without suffering a possible widespread disease such as the one we are suffering through right now. So in response to that, let's again go ahead and come back over here. Let's increase our fight against AIDS, and then let's increase our funding for vaccines and preventions. Then let's go back over to taxes, and let's go ahead and see what we got to do to wipe out this issue that we're actually having with our finances. Pollution, we're going to go ahead and increase that, see what we can actually get that done. $288 billion for that. Let's go ahead and get that done. That basically wiped away all of it back down as we raise taxes. That's something that I actually do increase. I actually do enjoy actually that is actually an option that I actually like to take to actually pause off most financial situations where I actually cannot pay the debt that I actually have. But in any way, we are actually looking at the end of this episode. Guys, if you guys enjoyed this episode, go ahead and leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Presidential primaries are going to be up in the next episode. We're going to walk through the entire election, the 2020 election in the United States. So if guys, again, wait for that episode to come up. And guys, if you guys like this, go ahead and leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Guys, I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you guys so much for watching, and take care.